felt a bit heavier than what he was. But... a little bit fatter.
Mate, that's as dead as a dodo. We've fallen for the oldest trick in the book here. We were doing some trolling for barra and bass in this mixed fishery impoundment. We flattened the battery for the electric motor, so we switched over and ran the cranking motor to run our electric. We got another hour of trolling out of it, but we've completely flattened the battery. It's just clicking. The lights are coming on, but there's not enough charge there to turn it over. Dan, how do we start an electric start motor like this beautiful 40 Yamaha when we've got a flat battery?
Yeah, one of the beautiful things about the Yamaha, Steve, is that all of our outboards have the ability to be able to be rope started in an emergency situation.
All right, whip the cowling off and show us how it's done.
All right. Simply we have to remove the top cover, and then what you're going to see underneath the top cover is a cover over the top of the flywheel. Now to get to that, we usually have to remove this plastic shroud. Now some of them are different, but this one's very simple because it just pulls off. Some of them may need a little spanner just to undo a couple of bolts. We simply remove that, and that's our flywheel. That's what we're going to be wrapping the rope around to rope start. Okay, so it's most important that before we even attempt to rope start this, that we do two very important steps. One is that we have the ignition key to the on position, and the second is that we make sure that our shift is in the neutral position. If it's in the forward or the reverse position, there won't be any protection. So once we start this engine's going to be propelled along. So Steve might get thrown out the back if we were to have it in forward and this engine starts. It could be a very dangerous situation. So always make sure that it's in the neutral position. Okay, we're going to have a look where the rope goes around the flywheel. Now with your owner's manual, you usually get an emergency starter rope, but unfortunately, I'm not sure where Steve's is at the moment. He's probably left it back at the camp or in his car or somewhere like that, or at home. But we're going to improvise a bit today and use a bit of bow rope or a bit of anchor rope that I think we've found, and just tie a knot in the end of it, and hopefully we can get this thing going.
There you go, mate. There's a bit of anchor rope, and I tied a granny knot in the end of it for you.
Thanks, mate. We'll improvise where necessary. Okay, so first we'll locate the knot into the flywheel, into the relevant position there. There's two little cutouts in this case, and most importantly we wrap it in a clockwise direction. Usually there's a little arrow there to help you with the direction, so clockwise.
It's sort of explanatory too, isn't it? From the shape of the notches you'd have trouble probably
right,
wrapping it the other way to pull out.
Exactly
but,
right, yeah.
Important to get it the right way, obviously.
Yeah, so we'll just wrap that around.
Couple of turns?
Yeah, a couple of turns. We don't want to overfill it, but the key here is now, because this is a four-stroke engine, has a lot of compression, it can be quite hard to exert the force on it to start it, but if we turn it over slowly, just to get a feel for it, we'll feel that it's actually quite hard to pull there, and then it's going to get softer. Now as it gets softer, it'll get harder again after it's finished being soft. Now the point where it just starts to take up and get quite heavy is where we want to start the actual recoil from, right. And that's going to be the safest, and it's going to be easiest on your shoulder. Okay, one big fluent pull.
Key on, neutral, go. Hey!
And there she goes.
How good's that? That wasn't that hard at all. It's nice to know that you can do that if you get in that situation out there with a flat battery or whatever. These modern motors, there's no rope hanging out the front, but you can get a bit of rope, and as Dan said, you actually get one in your toolkit. Mine's back in the car, I think, but there you go, he did it with a bit of anchor rope. Now Dan, this is the cover that goes over the flywheel, but I'm not real keen on the idea of putting my fingers near that flywheel and putting it back on. Do we have to put it on now?
It's not important, no. It's mainly to protect you from those parts, and while it's moving, it's obviously going to be more dangerous for us to try and put it on, so we can leave that off until we get back to the ramp, but in the meantime we can probably put the top cover on pretty easily.
Very good, whack that on then. And you'd put that cover on when you got back to the ramp, and quite likely we'd get enough charge into the battery on the way back in that we'd be able to do another start anyway, wouldn't we?
Hopefully, yeah.
Alright, whack that on.
All right.